Today I want to talk about what many professionals consider to be the key to being a great improviser. I went to 2 different music schools myself, and neither of them discussed this ear training concept. The concept is audiation. Most schools, or ear training apps for that matter, teach ear training by having you identify rhythms, intervals, and chord qualities. This is fine, but it's not going to make you a better improviser. The key to being a better improviser is to audiate, or hear internally what you're going to play. Many professional musicians talk about this. Joe Pass.
Better to play only the things that you hear. So
Chris Potter.
I mean, I am hearing the notes, and I'm thinking maybe
Pat Metheny.
More and more as time has gone on, I realized that playing is really more about listening than it is about playing.
So in this video, I'm going to show you what audiation is and some audiation exercises that you can incorporate into your practice routine to make you a better improviser. So what is audiation? Well, if I were to ask you if you could hear the melody to Mary Had a Little Lamb in your head right now, could you hear it? Can you hear the rhythm? Can you hear the pitches? Do you hear someone singing it, or do you hear it being played by an instrument? Can you hear harmonies or chords? If yes to any of these questions, then you are audiating. Audiation is simply having a musical idea and hearing it internally. Having a musical idea is an important element here. Before you pick up your instrument, you need to be musical first. What I mean by this is that you need to have musical ideas and an urge to communicate those musical ideas. Toddlers, for example, learn to speak a language because they want to communicate something, like I'm hungry or I want that toy. Those reasons compel them to learn and speak the language. Most people want to improvise, but they don't have anything that compels them to communicate. So we need to start first by immersing ourselves in music and absorbing musical ideas. Check out my video on learning music by immersion if you're interested in exploring this topic further. So once you have a musical idea, you have to hear that idea in your head. And the louder that you can make that idea in your head, the more you will be compelled to sing or play that through your instrument. Hal Galper, the famous jazz educator, explains this topic in his video, The Illusion of the Instrument.
You can't hear it, you can't play it. Period. So now you have the answer to all your problems. You couldn't play something because you couldn't hear it. And what he said was, and I mentioned it earlier, if the signal from the brain is strong enough, the hands or whatever will do anything to respond. It all depends on the intensity of your concentration and the vividness of your oral, A-U-R-A-L, oral imagination. So, question, how many think you have trouble playing what you hear? Well, you're all wrong. You are all playing exactly the way you hear.
So how do you improve the vividness of your oral imagination or your audiation? Here are some exercises you can try. Exercise number 1, audiate using solfege. This is a great place to start if you have a hard time hearing notes in your head. So solfege is a system that associates different syllables with different scale degrees. So for example, do is the root. Re is a major second above the root. Mi is a major third above the root. Fa is a perfect fourth above the root, etc., etc. So a great way to audiate using solfege is to sing a scale and pause before you sing the next note of the scale so that you can hear it in your head first. So for example, if I were to use a major scale, I would go do, and then see if I can hear re, re, and then the next note, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. If we want to take this a step further, we can sing a scale again and keep do or the root in our head the whole time while we sing the rest of the scale. So for example, starting with do again, do, I'm going to keep that note in my head as I sing the rest of the notes. Re, mi, do, fa, sol, do, la, ti, do. do. So you can hear me checking back in with do to make sure that I can actually hear it. This is a great way to start audiating multiple notes in your head and building a foundation for hearing harmonies. Try this exercise with different scales and intervals. Exercise number 2, sing melodies and solos from memory. So in Hal Galper's words, if you can't hear it, you can't play it. And the best way to prove that you can hear something is to sing it. So with this one, we can start easy. Start with something like Mary Had a Little Lamb, memorize it, and then sing it, and then check back in with the recording to make sure that you're singing it correctly and try again. Once we have it mastered, we can move on to a harder song, like maybe a Beatles melody or a pop melody. And then from there, once we get the hang of that, we can move on to more complicated things, like horn lines or solos or whatever. Exercise number 3 is Hal Galper's scream method. In the video I showed you, he has a student play a 2-5-1 lick and then has them play it again, but has them scream it in their head before they play it a second time. And the second time you can hear that they play with much more conviction because they really can hear it before it passes through the instrument. This is a great exercise to practice with any licks that you're learning so that you can increase the loudness of the things that you're hearing in your head before you play them. Exercise number 4, audiate between phrases. So this is a great one to practice with a backing track. You can throw one on, start improvising, play a line, then pause and see if you can hear the next note or line, and then play that. We can also do this while we're playing live or playing with other musicians. You can throw in intentional pauses to really examine whether you're noodling or you're actually hearing what you're playing. This will help you play with more intention and conviction, and it will make your improvisations hopefully more interesting. Start incorporating these audiation techniques into your own practice routine and let me know which one you like the most in the comments below. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel to catch the next one. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.